Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today we're continuing our series of testing and trying every single item in the game and kind of rating and ranking how good or bad it is. Today then we're talking about traps, which comes in two main forms. You have the grenade trap, which is special laser tripwire related grenades, and then you have the mines, which are literally just a mine you place on the ground. There are quite a few versions and variants of this. Some are significantly better than others, so we'll be talking about all of that today. Before we get into it though, here's a couple quick tips to do with each thing. First up, the fact that with mines and placeables like that, you can slide and place them at the same time, even going through them, unlike say a barricade kit, which needs you to go around it while you're placing it. So if someone's chasing you and you have a mine in hand, explosive or jolt or something like that, it could be a great way to place it as they chase you and turn things back on them. You can also pick them up, so you disarm them yourself and pick them back up, but you're going to be careful with the other version, the grenade traps. These come with a special red line, so when you walk through that, that's going to trigger it, and annoyingly, they make this beeping sound, which really gives them away on top of the red line. Interestingly though, if you walk through these yourself, you will trigger them, so they can indeed backfire, but this can be a really helpful thing actually when it comes to the smoke grenade trap and that kind of thing. You might want to pop them yourself. Last tip is that you do not have to place them on the floor or on objects like that. You can place them vertically or quite high up, which is a really nice detail, especially at the top of a doorway, that kind of thing. And while this one's definitely out of reach by default, you can place them a little bit out of reach for you to pick up again, but then jump and trigger the disarm and then disarm them from that extra height, allowing you to pick them up again. Just don't go too crazy like that one. All right, let's get into the tier list. Starting at the bottom with the gas grenade trap. This is the one that has the laser tripwire for it and does require a craft, which is basically the gas grenade plus a wire. So you're using wires to craft this on top of it being a gas grenade, which is one of the most unreliable and worst options you could go for. Really, this is the worst trap type, the more costly version of it. The fact that it creates this red line that makes it obvious, and it beeps, which makes it more obvious. I really don't advise you craft these. Actively avoid crafting these if you can, and only use them if you find them. But just to be clear on it, we're going to put one in the training range just so you can see it and step into it. So this is what happens to someone when they stand in it. All their stamina is like zipped up relatively quick. So it does work as an area denial, control an area, protect your backline. It's not that loud when it pops, but it will be obvious with the gas, the green smoke. Plus, the smoke itself isn't as thick or dense as a normal smoke grenade, so you can shoot them reasonably while they're in it. But if I place this and trigger it, we're going to see that when I trigger it and freak out and move out of it, you can see that I can still get out of it. I'm not stuck in it. So between, say, the gas grenade mine and the gas grenade trap, the grenade trap is a lot worse, and so D tier. Moving up to C tier then, we have firstly the gas mine, which is literally the gas grenade trap, but more reliable and less obvious. If we pop into the training range again and put one of these down, you can see that it's a lot more subtle. It's not loud, it's not got a big red laser. It does have this like subtle green glow, which by the way in daytime is basically not going to be noticeable, but if you're in a darker area, it will be noticeable. It does the same thing as the gas grenade trap though. It's the gas grenade smoke, which zips up all your stamina. Again, they'll be relatively exposed in that smoke, but they absolutely can get out of it. So it works as a very cheap alarm system. Having one or maybe two in your raids just to cover your back in the cheapest way possible is reasonable. But the downside of that is the fact that I don't have the blueprint for it. I don't know about you. So if worse comes to worse, you can just buy them at the grenade store infinitely for 810. So if you're going to run them, that's going to be just over 1.5 thousand for a very cheap alarm system. An important caveat to add to this as well is this real world example against a guy while I was looting the annex. I set them up as alarms and maybe to use as a fight, right? And the reality is he popped them 2 times and I couldn't ever push him because obviously he moved back away from the trigger point. And then what am I going to do? Slide into him and lose all my stamina to go through my own smoke? It leaves you with a sort of like stalemate until it clears. So it just doesn't really work for combat in most scenarios. Still, it was an alarm that worked for me. Next up in C tier then, we have these pesky things, the lure grenade traps, which as you can see requires 1 lure grenade and then 1 wire to craft like any of these special wire traps. So it works again as an alarm, but more for protecting an area from a Shredder, Rocketeer, Leaper, Bastion, some sort of arc that's going to path into you while you're exposed, protecting your back in that way. The truth is, the throwable, intentional, sticky version of a regular lure grenade is not only cheaper to run because you just have to craft it, then don't have to use a wire, but it's just more reliable because you get to place it where you need to. The lure grenade trap is going to be relatively useless with players, where the throwable version you could throw behind them or on them and force the arc to look at them, whereas setting up with the actual grenade trap version, that requires, well, setup and a lot of luck to actually matter. So I would never ever craft one of these just for the cost, and just stick with the regular lure grenade, which is honestly really useful depending on the context. Alright, that brings us to B tier, where we start to get to relatively useful items at last. Let's start with a new one, the Pulse Mine. It's a pretty cool concept. You put it down, if someone triggers it, they get a little knockback, forcing them into a down state, which they have to sort of like get up from. It lasts a lot less time than I'd like it to, and it moves the hitbox around. So you can't easily headshot them. You'll end up body shotting them mostly, which is still good if you're there at the right time. But you gotta be careful because it might knock you back if you're too close. It's a very loud sound though, and as far as a mine goes, quite subtle compared to others. I view this like a cheaper, weaker, worse jolt mine, which will definitely be useful early on when we prestige, because it'll allow us to protect areas as a warning, but also mess with people, because instead of just being an alarm, it causes a little knockback, right? So imagine it, you put it at the top of a zipline, near a ledge or edge. If someone triggers it, it may lead to them falling off something and getting downed, which has undeniable more benefit than just being an alarm. So in certain contexts, it has extra value, and it's one of the more cheaper alarm systems you can go for, without also getting in the way of yourself like the gas grenade versions. As far as alarms go then, I rate the smoke grenade trap as one of the better ones. It has the problems of being a grenade trap, which is the loud beeping, the obvious red line. It's hard to sort of bumble into one of these. Worst of all, it's a smoke trigger, right? So it's actually not that loud when it triggers, but the big cloud is very obvious, so it does work as a great alarm. Obscuring someone, causing them to freak out, they'll probably back away, much like they would with a gas grenade, and wait for it to end, which by the way, it lasts ages, so it is a pretty decent alarm overall. Another benefit to them, like any grenade trap, is that you can walk into that red line and trigger it yourself intentionally, which then serves as a self-smoke as a purpose in a pinch. This can then be used for extract or covering yourself or whatever, just like awkwardly putting it down then standing on it after it activates. It has a bit of delay, so undeniably worse for that purpose than just a regular smoke grenade. And again, hilariously, this requires a smoke grenade and then one wire to craft, so it's more expensive than a regular smoke grenade to work with. So, I would never ever craft one of these myself, but if you were to find one, it could be used like that regular smoke grenade or one of the better alarm systems. So, these are still useful things, and that's why it at least is relevant and in B tier. Now we get to things that are actually going to be a lot more impactful whenever they work. So let's start with the explosive mine, which is certainly potent. It doesn't hit that hard, it deals 40 damage before any mitigation, but that'll still surprise someone and hurt them for sure. Its explosive nature will also work great as an alarm, warning you where someone is and they're vulnerable right now. The thing about something like a pulse mine compared to this is that a pulse mine pops, they got knocked over, they get up, now they're okay. If you're too far away to actually, take advantage of that pop, then an explosive mine's undeniably better, because even though you weren't there to immediately punish them, at least you had that 40 damage tick. So it's a burst of raw damage, a warning system, and it'll be useful against both Arc and Raiders because it actually deals damage. If it hit harder, it'd be a lot more scary. Maybe it's a good thing that it doesn't. So they're solid. Much like the Blaze Grenade Trap, which would probably be like towards S tier if it hadn't been nerfed. So what it is it's just a Blaze Grenade, right, that triggers when someone steps into it. It is a grenade trap though, so you got that red line, you got the loud beeping. It's really obvious and hard to trigger in an intentional way. When I was trying to get footage of it for this video, I put it in so many places, covered my back in so many areas, felt good and secure because of it, because I know it would be useful if it worked, but it basically didn't because it's so obvious as a grenade trap. But ultimately, if it does trigger, what you get is good. A blaze grenade, which is going to spread fire and deal great health and shield damage at the same time to a raider. And it's actually useful against arc. You know, blaze grenades are good against arc, and it's going to deal ticking damage for a good few seconds. Sadly, the blaze grenade is one of the few explosives that sort of felt the 1.3 nerf, reducing its many instances of damage, hitting multiple parts of the arc and getting at the core overly effectively. Whether that's a regular arc, or the ridiculous stuff that we saw in the past with the Queen one-shot, which is obviously now gone. So it's not as busted as it was then for arc killing, but it's still like as relevant as a blaze grenade. But if someone does pop this, they're going to be on fire, they're not going to be happy, and you'll know where they are. So it's pretty solid. Moving up to the S tier, we have the Jolt Mine, which in my opinion is simply the best mine to protect an area. The explosion when it triggers is loud and obvious. You know exactly where and what has just happened when this procs. It will not like directly hurt them like an explosive grenade will, but it will cause a 2-second CC, like you've thrown a showstopper at them. Now this forces a special animation where they sort of stood fully up, kind of freaking out and they can't move. If you are near enough to actually capitalize on this, you can punish them hard. And because it lasts 2 seconds, that's a good enough time to get on someone. But if you get there, even with half a second left, this is free headshots for you and will likely decide the fight. And the same kind of shock effect has some relevance for arc as well, which is nice. But I especially like these against raiders on something like Stella Montis or inside any building where I'm looting anything valuable and covering my back. Just bringing 2 of these can completely cover both sides of wherever I am. They're my favorite mine for a lot of reasons, and so I rate them at S tier. But I was also going to put the Deadline in S tier, until Josh convinced me that it's in a league of its own, and that is valid. So the only mine in S+ tier is of course the Deadline, which deals 1000 damage in one explosion. And even though they did this explosive nerf in regards to big arc and, you know, the penetrating into their core, it deals so much damage and the AoE is so big that that doesn't matter. So it is still literally the best tool for killing big arc in a single hit, and will be a top tier choice in regards to bursting down your queens and matriarchs, because you can run up to them, plant it on their underbelly if the environment allows you to reach up. But of course you can also use zip lines, physical movement, or snap hooks to get on top of them, and place these on top of them. You have time enough to put down 2 without actually blowing yourself up, so 2 per queen and matriarch will do a lot of damage. It also will still like one-shot everything, like a bastion will die to 1 of these, and it's easy to pop yourself on top of those, even without a snap hook. The real relevant nerf was the cost of these. You can buy like 1 a day for like 15k, it's pretty expensive, but if you bring 1 of these in and go hunt a single bastion, you get the parts from the bastion, and it pays for itself and more. And if you find 1 of these in any like high tier location, you put it immediately in your safe pocket. So overall, it is the best trap. But as you can see, I really rate things like the Jolt Mine, Explosive Mine, and even the Blaze Grenade Trap. There's still a purpose for something like a Pulse Mine, and lesser to degree, the Smoke Grenade Trap, because you can self-smoke yourself. But the C and D tier are particularly bad in this list. But you know, it feels relatively balanced at this point. With the way they've got the limiter on the Deadline, and the craft costs and so on for the different mines, I think this is pretty solid, and I'm not really expecting it to change anytime soon. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I hope this was useful to you. If you've never tried some of these, give them a go. For now then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.